Hello everyone, welcome back to Sports Steer. On this video, I am going to predict every NFL team's record and standings prediction. So let's get this video started. Please don't forget to subscribe. The Buffalo Bills, 10-6. Last season, the Buffalo Bills finished with a 10-6 record and earned a playoff berth for the second time in 3 seasons. Last year, the Buffalo Bills lost 22-19 to the Houston Texans in overtime in the AFC wildcard game. This season, they will try to take the next step and win their first AFC East title for the first time since 1995. The Buffalo Bills' ability to take the next step will likely hinge on Josh Allen's ability to become a more consistent passer. One of the top young dual threats in the game, Allen still has accuracy and decision-making issues, as evident by his 58.8 completion percentage and 14 fumbles in 2019. The rest of the Buffalo Bills roster is playoff caliber, especially with their new number 1 receiver Stefon Diggs in the fold. He should help improve a passing attack that ranked 26th in yards last season. The Bills also ranked 8th in rushing yards and 2nd in scoring defense. Of course, the Bills will have to unseat the New England Patriots to win the division. While Tom Brady is no longer part of the opposition, Bill Belichick still is, and he's likely to keep the New England Patriots competitive in the post-Brady era. Over his first 3 seasons as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott went 25-23 with 2 playoff appearances. Before 2017, he worked as a defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers over 6 seasons, with his best success coming in 2013. Last year, Buffalo ranked 23rd in points scored at 314 and 24th offensive yards, which was an improvement from 2018 30th in points scored at 269 and 30th in offensive yards. Over the past 2 years, the Bills ranked 2nd and 3rd in yards allowed on defense. They improved 16 spots in the standings in 2019 in points allowed at 259, ranking 2nd. On the Patriots side, they got a lot more than Brady to consider as well. Recently, the Patriots have had the most players opt out of the 2020 NFL season due to COVID-19. The Buffalo Bills have had their share as well, but nothing like the Patriots. It all comes down to the Bills and the Patriots to win the AFC East title this year. The Bills and the Patriots meetings would be crucial this year for the Buffalo Bills. So my prediction is that the Buffalo Bills will win the AFC East division crown for the first time since 1995. The New England Patriots, 9-7. The New England Patriots had a tremendous season last year, going 12-4. They made the playoffs as the 3rd seed and were eliminated by the Tennessee Titans in the wildcard round. That was the earliest exit in the playoffs for the Patriots since January 10th of 2010 against the Baltimore Ravens. The New England Patriots have won the AFC East in each of the past 11 seasons, 16 out of 17 years. They have 10 or more wins in every season since 2003. Bill Belichick returns to the New England Patriots for his 21st season. His road to success will be much harder with QB Tom Brady no longer on the team. He has a record of 237 wins and 83 losses in New England with 6 Super Bowls and 3 other trips to the big game. The Patriots are 30-11 in the postseason since 2001. He needs 56 wins to pass Don Shula for the most in NFL history. New England fell to 15th in yards gained, which was their lowest showing since 2002. They fell to 7th in points scored after 9 straight seasons with a top 4 ranking. The Patriots finished with the best defense in the league in points allowed at 225 and yards allowed. They improved by 20 spots from 2019 in yards allowed to 21st. New England will go without a defense coordinator for the 2nd straight season. Belichick handled that job in 2019, and he will again this year. In the offseason, Tom Brady left the Patriots in free agency and signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Patriots went bottom feeding at QB with hopes of extending the run in the postseason. The quarterback they signed was Cam Newton, who struggled through the previous 2 seasons with the Panthers, while battling left foot and right shoulder injuries. His game and success are built on his ability to make plays with his legs. Cam Newton brings a new style to the New England Patriots, but he does win games. He has a record of 68 wins, 55 losses, and 1 tie, with his best value coming in 2013 going 12-4, and 2015 going 15-1, and 2017 going 11-5. So my prediction is that the New England Patriots will be a playoff contender this season and will have a chance to win the AFC East Division crown this year. The Miami Dolphins, 6-10. The Miami Dolphins showed a lot of fight in 2019, winning 5 games in what was supposed to be a tanking season. They have missed the playoffs for the last 3 seasons and have had an under 500 record for the past 3 years. After a slow start 0-7 in his rookie season as a head coach, Brian Flores saved his job by winning 5 of his final 9 games. They started the season by being outscored 162-26 over the first 4 contests. Their head coach worked a New England system for 15 years with many different types of jobs. Over the last 8 seasons with the Patriots, he worked on the defensive side of the ball as a defensive assistant, safeties coach, and linebackers coach. He has been part of 4 Super Bowl winning teams and 7 AFC championships, with the new additions like Tua Tagovailoa at cornerback, linebacker Kyle Van Noy, runner back Jordan Howard, and cornerback Byron Jones. This year's Dolphins team is more talented on paper than last year's team. Don't be shocked if the rookie quarterback spends some time behind journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick before taking the field. The Miami Dolphins 2020 season will be all about preparing young quarterbacks to be the quarterback of the future. In the Miami Dolphins case, protecting their young QB who suffered a fractured hip last season will also be a priority. I also won't be surprised, though, if the Dolphins are surprisingly competitive this year. Last year, Miami ranked 25th in points scored at 306 and 27 offensive yards, which was an improvement from 2018 30th in points scored at 319 and 31st in offensive yards. The Dolphins allowed a league high 494 points, which was 61 more than the 2018 season. They also slipped a notch in yards allowed to 30th. So my prediction is that the Miami Dolphins 2020 season will be another rebuilding year. The New York Jets, 4-12. The New York Jets were led to their 9th straight season without a playoff berth. New York finished the 2019 season with a 7-9 record, which was the highest win total since 2015, going 10-6. Adam Gase has a 30-34 record in his 4 years as a head coach for the Dolphins and the Jets with 1 playoff appearance. He has 15 seasons of NFL experience, with all of his coaching coming on the offensive side of the ball. Last year, the Jets fell to 32nd in the NFL in offensive yards, which was the 3rd straight season of decline. 26th in 2016, 28th in 2017, and 29th in 2018. New York scored only 276 points, ranking 31st, which was 57 fewer points than the previous season. Their offensive coordinator won't survive another season if the Jets don't improve by a wide margin in 2020. The Jets brought in Greg Williams to run their defense after spending the 2018 season as the Browns' defensive coordinator and interim head coach. Williams has been in charge of the NFL defense for 19 seasons. Greg went 22-34 over 4 different years as a head coach. In 2019, the Jets improved to 7th in the league in yards allowed, 25th in 2018, while shaving 82 points off the scoreboard, 16th in points allowed at 359. On July 25th, the Jets traded Jamal Adams, along with a 4th-round pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, to the Seattle Seahawks in exchange for safety Bradley McDougald. 1st and 3rd round picks in the 2021 NFL Draft, and a 1st-round selection in the 2022 NFL Draft. Trading him isn't going to help a defense that ranked 16th in scoring last season. So I absolutely think that the New York Jets could find themselves in the basement of the AFC East this season. So that's my AFC East standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. The Baltimore Ravens, 13-3. The Baltimore Ravens had the best season in franchise history last year, going 14-2 in 2019. They also made a franchise record for most points scored in a season at 531. They made the playoffs as the first seed in the AFC, but unfortunately they were eliminated in the AFC division round against the Tennessee Titans. John Harbaugh returns for his 12th season as head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. He has a 118-74 record with 8 playoff berths and 1 Super Bowl title. The Ravens improved in each of the previous 4 years while setting a career high in wins 14 in 2019. He has one losing season in his career, 5-11 in 2015. Last year, Baltimore moved to second in yards gained and first in points scored at 531. They scored 142 more points than in the 2018 season at 389. Before Lamar Jackson took over as the starting quarterback, the Ravens went 20 seasons without a top 10 offense. Over the last 2 years, Baltimore ranked first and fourth in yards allowed by their defense. They allowed 282 points third in 2019 and 287 points second in 2018. Defensively, the Ravens need to improve a pass rush that produced just 37 sacks last season. This is where offseason acquisitions, Calais Campbell could be a huge factor. Even if the Ravens don't significantly improve their sack numbers, this is still a defense that ranked 4th in yards and 3rd in points allowed last season. I absolutely think that the Baltimore Ravens should remain in the Super Bowl hunt all season long. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 10-6. The Pittsburgh Steelers have missed the playoffs for the last 2 seasons in a row. Ben Roethlisberger missed almost all of last season. And the Steelers manage a 8-8 record with the tandem of Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges under center. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been one of the best franchises in the NFL since 2001, while having elite success since 1972. Over the last 19 seasons, Pittsburgh has a record of 196 wins, 106 losses, and 2 ties, with 12 playoff appearances and 2 Super Bowl wins. Mike Tomlin returns for his 14th season as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has a 133-74-1 record with 8 playoff berths and 1 Super Bowl title. Mike has a 8-7 record in the postseason, but only 3-5 over his last 5 appearances. Of all active coaches, he has the second best winning percentage at .642 in the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers' road to the playoffs lives or dies with the quarterback position. Pittsburgh hopes Ben Roethlisberger has a couple more good seasons left in his holster. Before 2019, Pittsburgh ranked in the top 4 in offensive yards gained in 4 of 5 years. Their success in yards hasn't translated as well in points scored. The Steelers ranked 7th at 436, 4th at 423, 10th at 399, 8th at 406, and 6th at 428 from 2014 to 2018. The loss of Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger led to the Steelers falling to 30th in yards gained and 27th in points scored at 289. They scored 139 fewer points than in 2018. The Steelers' defense finished 5th in the NFL yards allowed in 2019 and 5th in points allowed at 303. Pittsburgh has a rising defender, which will help them move back into playoff contention. By all means, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers' 2-year playoff drought should be over if Big Ben can last the full 16-game season. The Cleveland Browns, 8-8. The Cleveland Browns had a horrible, disappointing season last year, going 6-10 in 2019 and missing the playoffs for a 17th straight season in a row. Their last season above 500 was back in the 2007 season when they went 10-6 and missed the playoffs that year. The forward momentum of the Cleveland Browns ended in one season. Freddie Kitchens looked overmatched as the head coach in 2019 while failing to make significant growth on either side of the ball. Poor coaching and a lot of offensive interruption kept Cleveland from being a serious contender last season. Cleveland brought in Kevin Stefanski to take over as head coach. Over the previous 14 seasons, he worked in the Minnesota Vikings system with many coaching jobs. Last year he ran Minnesota's offense for the first time. The Cleveland Browns slipped to 22nd in points scored at 335, while having the same finishing yards gained. Since 1988, Cleveland ranks in the top 10 in scoring only once, 2007 ranking 8th. Cleveland improved to 22nd in yards allowed. They allowed 393 points, ranking 22nd, which was 1 point more than they allowed in 2018. From a talent standpoint, the Cleveland Browns should be one of the best teams in the AFC. The Cleveland Browns' 2020 season could hinge almost entirely on the new head coach Kevin Stefanski's ability to lead the team. Also, Cleveland's chances of making the postseason will also hinge on quarterback Baker Mayfield's ability to bounce back from a disappointing sophomore campaign. Though moving on from head coach Freddie Kitchens may already have him trending on the right direction. I think the Cleveland Browns can be a playoff contender this season, if all the talent comes together this year. The Cincinnati Bengals, 5-11. The Cincinnati Bengals had a horrible season last year, going 2-14 in 2019. That was their second worst season in franchise history, tying the 2002 team that won only 2 games too. Last year, the Cincinnati Bengals brought in head coach Zach Taylor to hopefully save the sliding franchise in 2019. He has 7 seasons of coaching experience in the NFL, with his highest ranking job before last year being the offensive coordinator and QB coach for the Miami Dolphins in 2015. This year, Taylor has a shiny new toy as quarterback, plus an intriguing upside option at wide receiver. The change of direction of this franchise should move quickly in a positive direction over the next couple of seasons. Last year, Cincinnati finished 26th in the league on offensive yards gained and 30th in points scored at 279. They regressed offensively by 89 points from 2018 at 368 points scored. On the defensive side of the ball, the Bengals fell to 32nd in yards allowed and 25th in points allowed at 420 in 2019. They added reigning Heisman winner Joe Burrow as quarterback and T. Higgins as receiver, and they have some talented offensive skill players naming Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, and hopefully a healthy A.J. Green returning. This is a roster that went 2-14 last year and has major question marks on defense. The addition of DJ Reader should help improve Cincinnati's run defense, but he may not dramatically improve their scoring defense. So I think the Cincinnati Bengals could be a surprisingly competitive team in 2020. That's my AFC North standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. The Kansas City Chiefs, 12-4. The Kansas City Chiefs are the defending Super Bowl champions after defeating the San Francisco 49ers 31-20. That was their first Super Bowl win since the 1969 season when they beat the Minnesota Vikings 23-7. For the first time in his 21 seasons as a head coach, Andy Reid picked up that third exclusive win in the playoffs, leading to his first Super Bowl title. He has been exceptional over his 7 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs, winning 77 games and losing 35 games, with 6 trips to the postseason. He has 10 or more wins in each of his last 5 seasons, and Andy Reid has double-digit victories in 2/3 of his career seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. His next step is improving on his playoff record, 15-14 in his career and 5-5 with the Chiefs. He improved to 7th in the NFL in career wins at 207 and 28th in winning percentage at .618. Kansas City managed to lock up his 2 most important players this offseason, quarterback Patrick Mahomes and defensive tackle Chris Jones, meaning the vast majority of last year's championship squad is still intact. After leading the NFL in points scored at 565 in offensive yards in 2018, the Chiefs scored 114 fewer points last year at 451 fifth, while slipping to 6th in offensive yards. They improved to 7th in points allowed at 308, which was 113 fewer points than 2018 at 421. Kansas City pushed their way to 17th in yards allowed, which was well above their failure in 2017 28th and 2018 31st. So my prediction is that the Kansas City Chiefs could be one of the best teams in the league and could repeat as Super Bowl champions this year. The Denver Broncos, 10-6. The Denver Broncos have missed the playoffs for the last 4 seasons in a row. They haven't had a winning record since the 2016 season when they went 9-7. The Broncos believe that they have their quarterback of the future in Drew Lock. Their quarterback helped lead the team to a 4-1 finish as a rookie last season. All things are possible for a team that has found its quarterback of the future. The Broncos wandered the QB desert for 4.5 long years following Super Bowl 50 and seem to have emerged battle-tested. Last year, their offense slipped to 28th in points scored at 282, and 28th in yards gained. They had a top 4 defense in yards allowed from 2014 to 2017, before slipping to 22nd in 2018. Last year they ranked 12th in points allowed at 316, while finishing 13th in yards allowed. So my prediction is that the Denver Broncos are a team who might not quite be there in terms of knocking the Kansas City Chiefs off their seat as division champs. But double-digit wins and a wildcard berth in the playoffs are very much on the table for this team, who will play their 12th toughest strength of schedule this year. The Las Vegas Raiders, 9-7. It was announced that the Oakland Raiders had officially relocated on January 22nd of 2020. Now they are the Las Vegas Raiders. In their last season as the Oakland Raiders, they went 7-9 and missed the playoffs for a third time in a row, and lost their last game in Oakland in Week 15 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Las Vegas inherits a team that has missed the playoffs in 16 of their last 17 seasons. John Gruden has 13 seasons as an NFL head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Raiders. He has 106 wins and 102 losses with 5 playoff appearances and a Super Bowl victory. The Raiders climbed to 24th in points scored at 313 with a much stronger move in yards gained, ranking 11th in 2019 and 23rd in 2018. The Raiders have ranked below 20th in yards allowed in each of the last 6 seasons, while being never higher than 20th in points allowed in the previous 12 years. The Las Vegas Raiders should be a better team in 2020. And they could also be a wildcard contender this season. The Los Angeles Chargers, 5-11. The Los Angeles Chargers are coming off a disappointing, horrible season, going 5-11 last year. After 14 seasons of being under center, Philip Rivers and the Chargers decided to part ways. In his first 2 seasons as the head coach of Los Angeles Chargers, Anthony Lynn had a 21-11 record, which was highlighted by an excellent 2018 season going 12-4. A massive reason why the Chargers slipped to 5-11 last year was because they regressed in scoring at 337 points in 2019, compared to 2018 they scored 428 points. Their defense improved to 6th in yards allowed, which was the 4th straight year of growth. Unfortunately, Los Angeles regressed in points allowed ranking over the past 3 seasons, 272 3rd in 2017, 329 8th in 2018, and 345 14th in 2019. They need to figure out what their goal is for the 2020 season. If they're eager to return to the playoffs after a disappointing record 2019, they may want to roll with veteran quarterback Tyrod Taylor. If they're hoping to develop rookie first-rounder Justin Herbert, the Oregon product will likely see the field sooner than later. In a division with the Kansas City Chiefs and improved Las Vegas Raiders and Denver Broncos squads, I think the Los Angeles Chargers could find it tough to dramatically improve on their 2019 campaign. So that's my AFC West standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. The Indianapolis Colts, 10-6. The Indianapolis Colts missed the playoffs for the 4th time in 5 years, and last year they went 7-9 on the season. The Colts are 1 year removed from the retirement of quarterback Andrew Luck, that left them in a weaker position offensively last year. In the offseason, they addressed that position by signing quarterback Philip Rivers to a 1-year deal worth $25 million. The 38-year-old quarterback is reunited with head coach Frank Reich and offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni, who helped him thrive as the Chargers' assistants. Over his first 2 seasons as the NFL head coach, Frank Reich went 17-15 with a playoff appearance in 2018. In 2019, the Colts fell to 25th offensive yards and 7th in 2018, and 16th in points scored at 361 in 2019. They scored 72 fewer points than in 2018 at 433, ranking 5th that year. Their defense slipped to 16th in yards allowed and 18th in points allowed at 373 in 2019. By all means, I think the Indianapolis Colts will win their division for the first time since the 2014 season. The Tennessee Titans, 8-8. The Tennessee Titans went 9-7 in each of the last 4 seasons with 2 playoff appearances. Last year in the playoffs, they went to the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs and unfortunately losing 35-24. That was their first trip to the AFC Championship game since the 2002 season. Their head coach, Mike Vrabel, has a 18-14 record in his first 2 seasons. All 6 years of his coaching experience in the NFL come on the defensive side of the ball. He played in the league for 14 seasons. His ties to the New England Patriots and 3 Super Bowl titles were a big part of his path to a head coaching job. Tennessee worked their way to 10th in points scored at 402 and 12th in yards gained. They scored more points than in 2018. The Titans haven't had a top 10 offense since 2003. This season, the Titans won't add a defensive coordinator, which puts their head coach in power position on that side of the ball. After making strides in 2018 in points allowed at 303 ranking 3rd and yards allowed ranking 8th, Tennessee regressed in both areas, allowing 331 points and 21st in yards allowed last year. In the last 3 years, Tennessee has been in 5 playoff games, all on the road. 9 of the last 10, dating back to the franchise's last appearance in the conference championship in 2002, were played in the other team's stadiums. Of course, the way to change their playoff path is to win more often in the regular season. They are the first team ever to finish 9-7 in 4 straight years. So I absolutely think that the Tennessee Titans will be a playoff contender this season and could make the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since the 2007 season to the 2008 season. The Houston Texans, 7-9. The Houston Texans had a pretty good season last year, going 10-6 and making the playoffs for the 4th time in 5 years. Last year in the playoffs, they won their first matchup against the Buffalo Bills 22-19 in the wild card round. In the divisional round, they played against the Kansas City Chiefs and lost 51-31. Over 6 seasons with Bill O'Brien as the head coach, the Houston Texans have a 52-44 record with 4 playoff berths, going 2-4 in the playoffs. He has provided a winning season 5 times. O'Brien has been a coach for 11 seasons while taking over as Houston's general manager in 2020. His decision in the offseason may very well lead to doom in his coaching career. He traded away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, which goes against the NFL team building grain. Runner backs tend to be easier to find than elite wide receivers. O'Brien did land Brandon Cooks to soften the blow at wide receiver for the Texans in 2020. They scored 378 points, ranking 14th, helping the Texans to a 10-6 record. The Texans fell to 28th in yards allowed and 19th in points given up at 385. They allowed 69 more points than in 2018 at 316. By all means, I think that the Houston Texans won't be as good as they were last season, but they still will have a great chance of a wildcard spot this year. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 3-13. The Jacksonville Jaguars had a bad season last year, going 6-10 and missing the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row, and have also missed the playoffs in 11 of their last 12 seasons. Doug Marrone returns for his 4th season as head coach. In his career in the NFL, he has 37 wins and 45 losses, with 2 playoff wins and 3 games with the Jacksonville Jaguars. In 2013 and 2014, he went 15-17 for the Bills. He has 15 years of experience in the NFL. His team looks to be fading on both sides of the ball, which invites job loss. The most notable changes the Jaguars will experience in 2020 will be on the field. Many of Jacksonville's past top players are now elsewhere, opening the door up for the next generation. 2020 will also feature the official transition to Gardner Minshew as the team's starting quarterback. He will now look to be as the team's leader 1 year after replacing Nick Foles as the top quarterback on the roster. Last year, the Jaguars climbed from 31st in points scored at 245 to 26th in 2019 at 300. They finished 20th in offensive yards. The defense ranked 6th, 2nd, and 5th in yards allowed heading into 2019. The change in personnel on the defensive side of the ball led to a massive regression in yards allowed, ranking 24th, and points allowed at 397, ranking 21st. Since 2017, Jacksonville has allowed 129 more points on defense. For certain, I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars will be one of the worst teams in the league this season and could be a contender for a first-round draft pick next year. That's my AFC South standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. The Dallas Cowboys, 10-6. The Dallas Cowboys had a disappointing season last year, going 8-8 and missing the playoffs. They have missed the playoffs every odd year and made the playoffs every even year. Dallas made the playoffs 3 times over the last 6 years while compiling a record of 56 wins and 40 losses. They hired Mike McCarthy, who took over as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He had a successful 11-year run going 114-61-1 with the Packers, leading to 9 trips to the postseason and a Super Bowl win in 2010. Over his final 2 seasons with the Green Bay Packers, he went 11-16-1. Last year, the Cowboys' offense led the NFL in yards, which came after a disappointing finish in 2018 ranking 22nd. They also scored 95 more points at 434 ranking 6th than the previous season at 339. Their defense slipped to 11th in points allowed at 321 and 9th in yards allowed. Defensively, the Cowboys aren't as stacked, but they do return most of a unit that ranked 11th in points allowed last season, minus number 1 cornerback Byron Jones. The Cowboys have the NFL's 3rd easiest schedule, based on their 2020 opponents' winning percentage in 2019. So I absolutely think that the Dallas Cowboys could win their division this year and could have a deep playoff run. The Philadelphia Eagles, 9-7. The Philadelphia Eagles have had 3 straight postseason appearances under head coach Doug Peterson, which includes their first Super Bowl title in 2017 against the Patriots. That year they went 13-3 that season and were the number 1 seed in the playoffs. He pushed his career record to 38 wins and 26 losses while picking up 4 wins and 6 playoff chances. The last 2 years have been more mediocre, with back-to-back 9-7 seasons, and after going 3-0 in the playoffs in their Super Bowl season, the Eagles are 1-2 in the postseason since. Even with a winning record in 2018-2019, Philadelphia struggled to make an impact in points start at 367 ranking 18th in 2018 and 385 ranking 12th in 2019, and in yards gained ranking 14th in both years. Last year, Philadelphia improved to 10th in yards allowed and 15th in points against at 354. Last year, the Eagles won their final 4 games to steal the NFC East Division title from the Cowboys. The Eagles won't have an offensive coordinator in 2020. I absolutely think that the Philadelphia Eagles will have a good chance of winning their division again this year, and if they don't win their division, they will have a great chance at a wildcard spot this season. The New York Giants, 5-11. The New York Giants struggled to win games over the last 3 seasons, 4-12 in 2019, 5-11 in 2018, and 13-3 in 2017, leading to another coaching change in 2020. Last year, New York ranked 18th in points scored at 341 and 23rd in yards gained in 2019. The Giants hired Joe Judge, who takes over as head coach of the New York Giants. He made the jump from special teams wide receiver coach of the Patriots. He has been in the New England Patriots system since 2012. Over the previous 11 seasons, Judge was part of 3 Super Bowl wins and 2 national championships at Alabama. The offensive coordinator job now lies in the hands of former Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett. I expect the New York Giants to be an improved team this season and to be a more competitive team overall this year. The Washington Football Team, 3-13. The Washington Football Team had a horrible season last year, going 3-13 and missing the playoffs for the 4th consecutive season in a row. Washington hired Ron Rivera as the new head coach. He will run the franchise after a solid run over 8 seasons with the Carolina Panthers, going 76 wins, 63 losses, and 1 tie, which includes 4 playoff appearances. His highlight year came in 2015, going 15-1 with a loss to Denver in the Super Bowl. He worked as a defensive coordinator over 6 seasons for the Bears and the Chargers while having 23 years of coaching experience. With a limited offseason and no preseason, Washington may not see improvement over last year's 13-3 team, which ranked dead last in scoring and 27th in scoring defense. I expect the Washington Football Team will be one of the worst teams in the league and could be a contender for a first-round draft pick next year. So that's my NFC East standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. The Green Bay Packers, 11-5. The Green Bay Packers had an excellent season last year, going to the NFC Championship game for the first time since the 2016 season. That game was against the San Francisco 49ers. Unfortunately, they lost that game against the San Francisco 49ers 37-20. Last year, the Green Bay Packers brought in Matt LaFleur to take over as the head coach in 2019 after spending the last 2 seasons running the Rams and the Titans offense. He has 6 years of experience as a quarterback coach. His best success came in 2016, helping Matt Ryan and the Falcons reach the Super Bowl. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the league named Aaron Rodgers. He has a top 5 player at wide receiver and runner back, and a mostly excellent offensive line. The Green Bay Packers offense slipped to 15th in points scored at 376, which matched their result in 2018. Their runner back Aaron Jones led the NFL in rushing touchdowns and total touchdowns. And with high price additions, Za'Darius Smith, Preston Smith, and Adrian Amos, changing the face of the defense, Green Bay went from 6-9-1 to 13-3 last year. A big reason is because their defense allowed 87 fewer points at 313 in the 2019 season compared to the 2018 season. Their defense allowed 400 points. Repeating that level of regular season success will be difficult. The Packers went 8-1 in games decided by 1 score. They stay remarkably healthy and they dominated the turnover table. I positively think that the Green Bay Packers could be a better team this season even while finishing with a record that's not as good as last season. But I do think they will win the NFC North Division crown this year. The Minnesota Vikings, 8-8. The Minnesota Vikings made the playoffs last year and missed the playoffs the year before in 2018. But last year in 2019, they went 10-6 on the season. Last year in the playoffs, they played against the Saints in the wild card round and won that game 26-20. In the divisional round, they played against the San Francisco 49ers and unfortunately they lost that game 27-10. Mike Zimmer will run the Minnesota Vikings for his 6th season. He has a career record of 57 wins, 38 losses, and 1 tie with 3 playoff appearances going 2-3. He has 20 years of experience coaching while helping the Cowboys win the Super Bowl in 1995. Minnesota has 10 wins or more in 3 of the last 5 seasons. In each of Mike Zimmer's 6 seasons in Minnesota, the Vikings have alternated missing the postseason in 2014, 2016, 2018, and making it in 2015, 2017, 2019. In 2019, the Vikings moved to 8th in points scored at 407 and 19th in 2018. Despite minimal growth in yards gained, 16th in 2019 and 20th in 2018. Their defense allowed 303 points, ranking 5th, and an improvement of 38 points from the previous season. Their downside came in yards allowed 14th, which was 10 spots lower in the standings from 2018. A 10-6 record last year was bittersweet because of an 0-4 mark against the Packers and the Bears. This team has a lot of talent, but Stefon Diggs is a big loss and the schedule is very tough. So I absolutely think that the Minnesota Vikings could be a good team and could make a playoff spot this year. But they haven't made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons since the 2008 season to 2009 season. The Chicago Bears, 6-10. After a breakthrough season in 2018 going 12-4, the Chicago Bears slipped to 8-8 last year because they failed offensively, ranking 29th in points scored at 208 yards gained. They scored 141 fewer points than in 2018 at 421. The Chicago Bears brought in Matt Nagy to be the head coach after a successful 2017 season as the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. He had 10 seasons of NFL experience working under Andy Reid. He has 20 wins and 12 losses over 2 years as head coach with 1 appearance in the playoffs. The Bears' defense slipped to 4th in points allowed at 298 and 8th in yards allowed while being less optimistic. So I expect that the Chicago Bears won't be as good as last season and shouldn't be a playoff contender this year. The Detroit Lions, 5-11. The Detroit Lions had a dreadful season last year, going 3-12-1. They have missed the playoffs for the last 3 seasons in a row, and the last time was in the 2016 season. The lifeline Matt Patricia holding the head coaching job for the Lions long term hinges on his success this season. Over his first 2 seasons with Detroit, he has just 9 wins and 22 losses and 1 tie, which came after Jim Caldwell went 36-28 over 4 years as the head coach. He worked in New England Patriots system since 2004, helping them win 3 Super Bowls. He held the defensive coordinator job for the Patriots from 2012 to 2017. Detroit finished 18th in points scored at 341 and 17th in offensive yards. The Lions fell to 31st in yards allowed and 26th in points allowed at 423. Only once since 1983 has Detroit ranked inside the top 10 in points allowed, third in 2014 at 282. By all means, I think the Detroit Lions will be overall a better team this season, but most likely won't be a playoff contender this year. So that's my NFC North standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. The Seattle Seahawks, 13-3. The Seattle Seahawks had a fantastic season last year, going 11-5. Last year in the playoffs, they played against the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round and won that game 17-9. In the divisional round, they played against the Green Bay Packers, and unfortunately, they lost that game 28-23. Since Russell Wilson took over as the starting quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, they have made the playoffs in 7 of his 8 seasons with 2 Super Bowl berths and 1 Super Bowl title. Seattle has been in the playoffs 13 times since 2003 with 1 other Super Bowl appearance. Pete Carroll has a career record of 133 wins, 90 losses, and 1 tie over 14 years as a head coach, with his best success coming to the Seattle Seahawks, 100 wins, 59 losses, and 1 tie, and a Super Bowl title. Last season, the Seahawks climbed to 8th in offensive yards while scoring 405 points, ranking 9th, which was a decline of 13 points from 2018. After ranking in the top 5 in yards allowed for 6 straight years, Seattle fell to 11th in 2017 and 16th in 2018 and 26th in 2019. The Seahawks allowed the least number of points each year from 2012 to 2016, before slipping to 13th at 332 in 2017, 11th at 347 in 2018, and 22nd in 2019 at 398. The Seahawks decided not to re-sign Jadeveon Clowney after a disappointing 2019 campaign. He finished with only 3 sacks and 31 tackles. Seattle's roster has done its typical churn and arrives in 2020 with a defense that should be closer in spirit to the unit we saw in the early 2010s before falling off in recent years. Last year, the Seattle Seahawks were 2nd in football on offensive play success rate, and they still don't play to their strengths as often as they should. The Seattle Seahawks are likely to be one of the league's most intriguing teams early in the season. They made a huge win-now move by dealing a pair of first-round draft picks for safety Jamal Adams, and plenty of folks will want to see if the move pays off. So I absolutely think that Seattle Seahawks could be one of the best teams in the NFC or in the NFL. I think they have a great chance of winning the NFC West Division crown this season. The San Francisco 49ers, 12-4. The San Francisco 49ers had a tremendous season last year, going 13-3. That was their first playoff berth since the 2013 season. The San Francisco 49ers hired Kyle Shanahan, giving him his first NFL head coaching job in 2017 for San Francisco, after successfully running the Falcons' offense the previous season. Kyle went 23-25 over 3 seasons as the 49ers head coach. He has 11 years of experience as an offensive coordinator while being in the NFL for 16 seasons. The 49ers were a great story last year. They went from 4-12 in 2018 to 13-3 with a trip to the Super Bowl in 2019. They finished 4th in the NFL in offensive yards and 2nd in points scored at 479, which was their first top 10 ranking in either area since 2003. Their defense moved to 2nd overall in yards allowed while placing 8th in points allowed at 310. The 49ers had a 10-point lead with 7 minutes left in the 4th quarter and lost by 11 to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 54. It was a really painful defeat. They didn't overhaul their roster this offseason or make dramatic changes. They could have signed Tom Brady. He expressed interest in joining the 49ers after he left the Patriots. But the 49ers kept Jimmy Garoppolo and 20 of the 24 stars on defense and offense. So I expect that the San Francisco 49ers will be one of the best teams in the NFC again this season and will be a threat for an NFC West division crown this year. The Arizona Cardinals, 8-8. The Arizona Cardinals finished with 5 wins and 10 losses and 1 tie last season and missed the playoffs for a 4th consecutive season in a row. They did show promise, most notably at the quarterback position. Kyler Murray was named Offensive Rookie of the Year and looked to be the right choice with the first-round pick of the 2019 NFL Draft. Arizona brought in Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach in 2019. Over the last 6 seasons, he was the head coach for Texas Tech. His teams went 35-40 while never having a winning season in conference play. He is a former NFL and CFL player. The Cardinals didn't bring in an offensive coordinator, which leaves the role to play calling to their head coach. Their offense scored 361 points, ranking 16th, while ranking 21st in yards gained. They scored 136 more points than in the 2018 season at 225. The addition of DeAndre Hopkins should only aid in Murray's development and boost their offense. Arizona allowed the most yards in the NFL, which was their third straight year of regression, 2nd, 6th, and 20th. They finished 28th in points allowed at 442. I expect the Arizona Cardinals will take some positive steps in 2020, though they're probably a year or two away from a playoff contention. The Los Angeles Rams, 6-10. The Los Angeles Rams had a disappointing season last year, going 9-7 and missing the playoffs, after going to the Super Bowl the previous year. Sean McVay went 33-15 in 3 seasons as the head coach, helping the Rams to 2 postseason appearances with a Super Bowl berth in 2018. Over the previous 3 years, he worked as an offensive coordinator for the Redskins. He has 10 seasons of experience in the NFL at the age of 33. The reason why they slipped to 9-7 last year was due to a sharp decline in points scored at 133 fewer points, and 11th place ranking at 384 points. The 2 previous seasons, LA finished first at 478 and second at 527 scoring. They ended up 7th in offensive yards in 2019. Last season, the Rams ranked 13th in yards allowed and 17th in points allowed at 364. So I expect that the Los Angeles Rams will still be a competitive team this year, but this season will be a bit of a rebuilding year for them. So that's my NFC West standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. The New Orleans Saints, 12-4. The New Orleans Saints had a tremendous season last year, going 13-3 and made the playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season in a row. They pretty much ran away with the NFC South last season. They finished with a 13-3 record despite losing starting quarterback Drew Brees to an injury for 5 games. While they're not likely to dominate the division in the same manner this season, they should again be considered the favorite. The Saints enter the 2020 season as legitimate Super Bowl contenders, but have to shrug off and exercise some playoff demons that have essentially haunted them for the past 3 seasons. After 3 straight 7-9 campaigns from 2014 to 2016, the Saints have gone 37-11 and have won the NFC South. However, in each of the postseasons since 2017, they managed to lose in every round in heartbreaking fashion. The first one was the Minneapolis Miracle against the Minnesota Vikings in the divisional round. Second, it was the infamous no call in the NFC Championship game against the Rams. Lastly, and most recently, the team suffered a bitter defeat at the hands of the Vikings again after a 13-3 campaign. On paper, the Saints have one of the best rosters in the league, and they have an extremely talented and underrated coaching staff on their hands. They scored 458 points, ranking 3rd in 2019, 46 points fewer than 2018 at 504. The Saints ranked 9th in offensive yards gained, extending their streak to top 10 finishes in this era to 14 seasons. They finished just above the league average on the defensive side of the ball for the past 3 years. In 2019, they finished 11th in offensive yards allowed and 13th in points allowed at 341. Only twice in the Peyton era has their defense ranked in the top 10 in points allowed from 2010 to 2013. The Saints are facing a crucial season, as they may be the final window to help Drew Brees get another Lombardi trophy. It's definitely going to be the last year to make a run with their stellar 2017 draft class. So I absolutely think that the Saints will be one of the best teams in the NFL and will win the NFC South for a 4th consecutive season in a row. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 11-5. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a disappointing season last year by missing the playoffs for a 12th consecutive season in a row. In his first season in Tampa Bay, Bruce Arians went 7-9 with 2 of their losses coming in overtime and 3 others by 4 points or fewer. Over 6 seasons as a head coach, he has won 65 games, lost 42, and 1 tie with 2 playoff appearances. He helped the Steelers win 2 Super Bowls, 2005 and 2008, as their wide receiver coach and offensive coordinator. He has 26 years of experience in the NFL. Tampa Bay hasn't made the playoffs since 2007. As disappointing as the 2019 season ended for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they find themselves on the complete opposite end of the spectrum heading into the 2020 season. The offseason additions of quarterback Tom Brady and tight end Rob Gronkowski have brought in instant national relevance to a team that hasn't made a blip on that radar in years. But with it comes instant expectations to make a Super Bowl run in 2020. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers improved offensively in back-to-back seasons, leading to a third-place finish in points scored at 458 in offensive yards despite tossing 30 interceptions last year. This year's Super Bowl game will be played at Tampa Bay Buccaneers' home stadium. Last year, Tampa Bay ranked poorly again in points allowed at 449, ranking 29th. But they did move to 15th in yards allowed compared to the 2018 season, ranking 27th. I do expect that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be a threat to get a wildcard spot this season and could become the first team in NFL history to win a Super Bowl at their home stadium. The Atlanta Falcons, 7-9. The Atlanta Falcons have posted a 7-9 record in each of the last 2 seasons, which moves Dan Quinn's career record to 43 wins and 37 losses. He led Atlanta to a 2016 loss to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. Over his 2 trips to the postseason, Quinn has a 3-2 record. He has 17 seasons of experience in the NFL, with 3 coming as a defensive coordinator. His defense helped Seattle defeat the Broncos in the 2013 Super Bowl. Atlanta ranked in the top 10 offensive yards in each of the last 6 seasons, but they have underachieved their success in points scored each year except 2016. That year they led the league in points scored at 540. In 2019, they finished 5th in offensive yards and 13th in points scored at 381. In 2019, Dan Quinn ran the defense, which ranked 20th in yards allowed and 28th in 2018. And 23rd in points allowed at 399. Over the last 30 seasons, the Falcons have only had a top 10 defense twice, 1998 and 2017. I do think the Atlanta Falcons could be a better team this year and could possibly be a contender for a wildcard spot this season. The Carolina Panthers, 4-12. The Carolina Panthers had a bad season last year, going 5-11 and missed the playoffs for 2 years in a row. They have officially turned the page and are setting the reset button. Ron Rivera is out as head coach, and former Baylor head coach Matt Rhule is in. He worked as the head coach for Temple and Baylor. He has been coaching since 1998, with his highlight coming as the AAC football champion in 2016. The organization also decided to part ways with the face of the franchise, Cam Newton, due to declining play and injury concerns. Despite having the great Christian McCaffrey leading their offense, Carolina finished 19th in offensive yards and 20th in points scored at 340. Last season, the Panthers allowed the second most points at 470 in the NFL, with a huge problem defending the run. Overall, their defense ranked 23rd in yards allowed. By all means, I think the Carolina Panthers could be a competitive team this season, but they're not likely to emerge from the NFC South with a playoff spot. So that's my NFC South standings predictions for the 2020 season. Here you go. What are your guys' records predictions and standings predictions for the 2020 NFL season? Join me in the comment section below and tell me what you guys think, and please don't forget to subscribe. Of course, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to just keep loving sports, and I'll see you next time.